forgot to start recording. So
true.
Anyway, all of that content is good. Wow. Anyway, continue with your story. It was a good call so far.
It was a boring fishing story. I remember we started there.
No, you're talking about the best singer in Kalamazoo.
Oh, yeah. And so this guy's killing it. And he starts playing Jimi Hendrix Watchtower.
Yep.
With this singer and this guitar player who was like channeling him.
Channeling Jimmy.
Yeah. It was powerful, so powerful. I wept. It was that beautiful. I swear to God. And it was just such a great occasion to see a new band that just knocked me off my feet.
Yeah, isn't that nice to see new content?
And they're doing these. They're doing 3 of these 4-hour gigs throughout the winter. Next one's in January, I think, and they try to attract. There's 1,000 people on their mailing list, and at this event there were, it wasn't a huge bar, so 40 people. If there were 40, looked like the place had scattered attendance. I didn't walk in and think it was empty by any stretch, but it didn't hold out. And when you went up, you realized that the entire front of it, which was all picnic tables and where otherwise could be a huge dance floor, but there still was a dance floor. It was that big. We're all empty. And as I consider the organization, the question that I have for an association with 1,000 people mailing list, how are you not getting across to your members that coming today is important? And one of the things that we really need you to do as a member of the organization, you got to make the effort. You got to come out. In order to keep the blues alive, we've got to make every night that we have an event like this standing room only. That's your job. That's the only thing you have to do is come and listen to blues. There's no other requirement to join. That's it, though.
Yeah.
And you don't charge them $20. You charge them $5. Get a percentage of the drinks at the bar. Take the cover charge. That's when you get the money away.
That's the thing you can do. You can, as a musician, you can ask for a percentage of the drinks.
Yeah.
Okay. News to me. That's not my gig. So
good. Most barbers would say, "You heard the expression, go fuck yourself."
Yeah. Them's my percentages. Yeah.
Just give me a number.
Okay.
Anyway, so that was great fun, and I listened to them play, 5 tunes. I couldn't tell you that, and one of them was Allman Brothers, which they just blew out of the park. It was great stuff. Great stuff.
So, Dennis.
Yes.
Is there any chance, at the risk of boring us, that we could talk again about your hacking issue? And I want to know the solution because you didn't actually tell me how it was resolved. But because I'm a dumbass and I wasn't recording before.
Okay, so
tell me what happened last week.
Get up in the morning, turn on my computer.
Woke up this morning, but no. Turn on my computer.
Woke up this morning, don't turn the computer on. Her voice started calling. Danger, Will Robinson, danger. This fucking woman's voice saying again and again, your security of your computer has been compromised. Do not turn off your computer. Call this number. Call Microsoft. And on the screen, it's flashing Microsoft and an 800 number. and this voice is loud coming through my computer. I didn't think to fumble with the volume on it, whatever. I just said,
That must be terrifying.
it was terrifying.
Especially,
terrifying.
Had you had coffee yet? Or were you still
I had
like
my coffee.
groggy?
I wouldn't sit at my computer open up without a cup of coffee.
Oh, well, that's
it's probably my second cup. Because my first cup, I sometimes sit in the dark and ponder my existence before we get into the day.
Before your computer starts yelling
with
at
the
you.
alarm blaring and Microsoft and the 800 number, I got on my phone, called it, and guy with an Indian accent, very professional. This Microsoft can help you. Yeah, I've got this thing. It's going, flashing your number. Yes, and what's your name and this and that, and we go through the steps. And I got to tell you that I'm not. Even though I've told you the story, I think
this is the third time
that when I was younger, that I was Mr. Gullible. Did you remember this? I won an award. I won a little scholarship from a guy named Joe Gullo, who was this very well-known local Italian American businessman who gave away a scholarship to the local community college, and I got it. And it was, it was like $275, whatever, which back in the day was maybe like $1,000 or whatever.
Sure.
And it was called the Joe Gullo Award. And so because I was in fact gullible, I want to believe that I have a good spirit. I'm just believing what people tell me. I don't assume they're going to lie to me. But the most infamous event was when a friend of mine came back from vacation and said we were down in our hotel in Florida, and I jumped in the pool and a fucking barracuda bit me. And he lifts up his shirt and he's got stitches and a scar. And I'm like, holy shit, man. Are you kidding me? You know the story. That was a prior episode.
No, I don't.
But
I don't recall that at all.
Yeah. Well, it was a story that I've told, and you. But anyway, because I won the Joe Gullo Award, they made fun of me and they called me Joe Gullible.
Nice. That's so good.
Stuck. I mean, they call me this for years. Yeah. Now, these two Indian guys in their apartment don't know this, or maybe they do. Maybe one of my friends talked and said, "You'll believe anything."
Right. No, I think that's very basic, like psychology to skip, because most people are terrified of their computers.
Well, to begin with, when you
watch a normal person, I'm going to say, because to me, not a technical person, use a computer, they are super scared to click on anything wrong, and they're worried that if they click on something wrong, then everything's going to just blow up and be bad. So it's so easy to say, "Oh, something's wrong! Warning!" and that immediately throws 97% of people into like, oh my God, the computer's doing something I don't understand. Help me.
An interesting, at the point that he asked me his name, it was one of the points that I noted that seemed out of place.
You asked him his name.
Or
yes,
I'm sorry, age. I meant to say age.
So hold on.
He asked me my age.
I want to. When did he start controlling your computer?
Early.
Did you call? But you called him and he said, "Okay, go and download this software."
Yes, he said, "Okay, go this, do that," and I did it and did exactly as he said and typed in the letters. He was walking me through it. I was his robot. I was his dummy. And
you were doing exactly what he said, right?
Yes, and it seemed reasonable to me. It's exactly what the Geek Squad would do when I'd call them and I called, like, and I will tell you this, let me jump to the end of this a little bit, because as I grew more and more suspicious, when he said, let's check your Gmails for anything weird. And while I had control of my computer, I could see that his screen, he was controlling the screen, but I could too.
Right.
And looked, and I said, no, there's nothing weird here. I've seen everything. I checked them this morning. There's nothing there. And he said, what about the spam? And I said, no, there's nothing there. And then look at your phone or something such and such.
Well, he said that that you told me that he said something like, I think your phone is hacked. Let's have a different.
At one point, after showing on the screen that someone broke into my computer, downloaded illegal material at 3:30 in the morning the night before, and then evidence by looking at another test that it was from a remote site, and then a history of the remote site's access to my computer in the past, 6 hours. And all this evidence of somebody had control of my computer, which of course, as it turns out, I gave to them.
Right? Exactly.
So as soon as I spoke to you, and I'd already gotten him off the line, and I dodged a bullet by not giving him any information that.
Well, you did really well by. Okay, you did poorly by not immediately being like, "Who the fuck are you? What's your name? Let me call." Yeah, but like, what's your name? Let me call you again, and specifically choose to talk to you by your name. That would have been good.
We got there,
but also there. But also,
that's exactly where we got to.
So I've been in a similar situation with Apple because I have a Mac, and I reached a point in our customer support issue where they didn't believe me that what I was telling them was on my screen. And they said, it's not that they didn't believe me. It's that they wanted a recording so that they could show their technical people that this was a thing that was happening. And they did instruct me to install a thing that let them, very, very importantly, it let them move a cursor around my screen, a mouse cursor, but they couldn't click on anything. They couldn't do anything. They could just point at where they wanted me to click, which I feel is a much safer, assuming that that's actually the limit of what that is, but that feels to me much safer, where they could be like.
Here's an image from that call, is that when he and I said, he says, so no, okay, fine, you confirm, no strange Gmail, no strange spam mail, whatever, and now let's check your bank accounts, as you indicated that you do online banking, and
as if someone doesn't.
And I said, and you want me to go online in my banking while you're on my screen? And he said, well, it's important for us to, customer support, blah, 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 blah. And I said, well, no, I'm not going to do that. And he said another thing, blah, blah, blah. And I said, listen, let me be real clear about this. There's nothing in the world you could say right now that would give me any trust that I am going to open up my accounts while you're on. Give me your name, give me your number, I'll check, I'll call you back. And he said, well, go ahead. He said, go ahead, and he said, and I said, well, you need to get off my computer. And, and he said, oh, yes, you're cut off now. And while I'm looking at the screen, I see movement with like a quick touch of a cursor or something, that I knew that it wasn't me. I wasn't touching the cursor.
Right.
And I said, I thought you said you had locked out of my computer. Oh, let me check. Let me double check. He said, well, you are now. And I said, well, that's what you said a minute ago. So name, number, and I'll be sure to call you back. And then the drama of the code number, which was like,
Right. And as I recall, you did really well in understanding that you should not go on your computer to your online banking, that if at all you should look at it, glance at it on your phone. But
which I wouldn't do that either. But the other thing I'll tell you is that when I got off the phone with you and I called a Geek Squad, which is my annual subscription for all my technology in the house,
right.
He offered to go ahead and do the cleaning, the review and the cleaning online, and I said, no. I'm not comfortable with it being online. If there's some kind of malware in my computer, I'm not turning it back on again.
Well done
now.
Dennis,
it's not
well
on
done.
now. And he said he started to give me another point in that direction. And I'm sure it was about the fact that I'd have to drop it off. It would be days, but I never let him get that far because I interrupted him and I said, there's nothing you can say right now that's going to make me not walk into your store. So give me an appointment. Yes, sir. I'll get right there. Can you do today and this and that? And I went. And a shout out to what's her name, Justine, who was efficient and friendly and communicative, and told me it wouldn't be any earlier than Saturday, which was a complete surprise that it would take that long.
Right.
And as it turns out, I got a call by the technician not the next day, but the day after, which was Thursday, I believe.
Friday.
And so I had it back for my what I thought was well, that's a story offline.
So what do you think they did?
Oh, he told me. He said that they scanned everything that was in my computer and they found spyware and evidence that it had gotten into my computer and how that happened. And because they knew that's what I told them. And they erased all that. They found some browser stuff that was going on that had been running nonstop. And it was just kind of a come on thing that you look for a fix and you get charged. And they improved the speed, therefore, and there was no charge. I mean, it's all part of my annual thing. So I was clean, and they called it spyware. I mean, I thought, well, that's exactly what the fuck it was.
Exactly, that's exactly what it was.
But but I mean, think of this. It's true. I've got the Joe Gullible history.
Yeah, it's so you got to be really careful about receiving an email. So there are these viral scares that go around the internet of just by opening your email, you're going to get this particular virus. That's not really true. What you don't ever want to do is have someone send you an email with an executable file in it, or download an executable because someone sent you, hey, go run this thing. It'll be cool. And download a thing and then run it, because by executing an executable, you then are potentially, and little by little, Windows has gotten a lot better about this, but it's still going to pop up a thing saying, hey, this cool thing that your buddy sent you needs permissions to do this and that. And if you give those permissions, then potentially it's going to install a thing that lets other people, that starts listening and pinging another server on the internet, and then you can get in trouble. So
imagine when this dude tells me that it appears your phone has been tapped. And on the computer screen, there's all these telephone numbers listed, the long numbers, whatever
Sure.
they are. And in the far right column, it's like status, right?
Right.
And it says listening, 11 times in a row. Listening.
All these 11 people are listening to you, right?
No, it's listening over different times, and it's like,
Yeah.
and as I was so confused, and
Exactly. They give you that barrage of information.
But imagine the cycle when I started saying to them in a voice that was kind of panicky because it was driving me nuts.
Right.
Was, will you please help me try to shut this down? And said, try to use your computer volume or whatever. And I found it, and I can't recall whether it worked or not, but then it shut off.
Right.
It just stopped. And that's when they got me. Because they helped me, they saved me from a chaotic situation. I was so relieved. I was so grateful. I was so glad to have professional help. Right. To make sure that torturous beeping and
I think they call that negative reinforcement. My father listening to this will perk up at that. But when you're rewarded for removing a negative stimulus,
and that's a perfect example of that. In fact,
indeed,
a perfect example. And so
it's all
the computer was clean. It cost me nothing. It was a trip to the store. I was a victim, and I could have been a much worse victim.
You came out relatively unscathed. Because
I believe I want to say, except for the slight emotional
the
turmoil
trauma
of Jesus. Here's the thing that you think when this happened. Am I really this fucking stupid? Am I really this stupid that I would, and this is the thing. I go to Microsoft, of course, to their website, and I'm looking at reporting on my phone. I'm looking at reporting
right.
Theft and all this other shit. And the first two things it says, these are what you need to know about Microsoft. Number one, we will never ask you to call a telephone number. And two, we will never have an alarm. We'll never have a alarm on your computer. That's the first two things.
Well done, Microsoft.
Why? This is why I feel stupid. Are you kidding me that I didn't know that?
No.
Is that what? I didn't know that.
No, you're not guilty of that. Your computers that you normally trust scared you, and that's what you did really well was noticing, oh shit, they're actually talking about money at some point, and shutting it down there. Right. Because it's like there's no way that I was going to go with like credit card numbers or anything like that. It was headed. I was gullible enough to succumb to their initial psychologically manipulative,
very effective, very effective, and in fact, textbook effective. Effective.
Oh, they have. They have run.
Be the person that takes the pin out of your neck, and you'll be ever so grateful. You can trust me.
Nice job.
I'm helping you. I'm your friend.
I think it's a thorn out of the paw in Aesop's fables, but whatever.
It's a needle in the neck. It's the servant with the sepulcher.
Needle in the neck. That's a possible title. So well done on that. I just want to reiterate because I've told you twice, but not recorded. that the typical scam on this is where they like lock up all your files and ask you to pay some Bitcoin for that. There's actually, so one of my favorite podcasts that is no longer around had an episode. They used to do interesting stuff about tech, but they used to have these segments where they called super tech support, I think, where they would have a listener or someone call in and say, "Hey, I had this weird problem. Can you help me?" And then they would like use their extensive investigative journalism money to go and actually investigate what was happening. And there's one episode, gosh, if I can find it, good luck, future Erik. On post, I'll include in the show notes the description of a time when somebody got this call, and the journalists actually got, like, imagine this happens to you and you tell me, and I have extra budget, and I fucking go to India and I find the call center where these people were calling you from, and I confront the actual person that was talking to you, and we talk together about what this whole scam is. That's what this podcast, several episodes were, but I'll try and find that. It's called Reply All.
Is that a documentary recording of that, or is it a fiction?
No. It's real. It's real. They actually sent somebody there, and they had a hard time tracking the person down, and then they had trouble meeting with the person. Anyway, it's a fantastic story to follow. I will try and find that.
Right. Well, and I kind of have a sense of where it might have come from initially, was that there was a scammy ads for clothing that when you went, and there was this really outrageously beautiful leather vest, outdoor vest, that was like $60. I double clicked on it, and it ended up taking me to a site that, when I did a review of the site, or my daughter did a review of the site first, and it came up with bad address and not to be trusted, this and that. It was from China. And then I tried another, I found the vest again, and it was another ad, but it took me to another Chinese oriented thing that was bad. One of those two times.
Are you allowed to say oriented about the Chinese?
Huh? One of those two times might have been, if I might have been in a vulnerable situation. I don't know.
Your problem is vest lust.
I'm on what?
Your problem is vest lust.
Yes, vest lust. Well, I just felt invested.
Indeed. Also, last time when we were going to record, before your computer got locked down, before we were going to record, I was going to go out on a date night with my lovely wife, and we did that. And I told you there's a chance I might not get back in time or whatever, but then all this happened and you had to cancel, which is good because I didn't get back in time. But just before that, going out for dinner, I was told by my boss that I was fired from my job. And it was just like, wow.
It was a bittersweet moment, because you knew the end was coming. If I understand, you weren't shocked, but you were surprised.
Well, yeah, exactly. I wasn't shocked, but I was like, okay.
It's this already. You might have come. It's like,
it's this already.
Quite today. I didn't think it would be today.
Right, but it was so well reasoned about and thought
Oh
about.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Like
You had said, I think that's beautiful that your corporate your culture, your corporate culture was so. It was one of the main reasons, as I recall, that you liked the
open and
company
transparent.
in what they were doing, and they handled it well. And so you're a big fan of the way they fired you. I just think that's really, I think that's really
I am.
good. That's a good example.
So
You were proud of the way they fired you.
exactly the analogy that I've come to reason about it with is, so with startups, the general term is having runway, and what that means is you have enough venture capital money to make it until this date, and then if your plane is not off the ground by that date, then you're in trouble. But another metaphor is you've got venture capital and you're flying and you have fuel, but you need enough fuel to keep flying. And my metaphor for what happened at my company was, like, we could have gone for another 3 months and then hit the ground really fucking hard, or we could remove a couple heavyweight salaries from the plane and then glide a little bit further. The weight and
The weight.
and then
The
glide.
weight of gold, in fact, isn't it? It's the weight of gold.
They do pay me in gold coins.
Bullions.
Yes.
Is that what they're called? Bullions? Or is that what you put in soup?
Both, I think.
So I'm surprised you don't know.
Indeed. And so in order for the company to glide to either disaster or pick up growth and actually fly, it's better to take a bunch of weight off the plane.
Sure.
So yeah. And since then, that was a week ago. Since then,
hey, bro, too heavy for liftoff. Too heavy for liftoff.
I know, man. My salary is so fat, I can't. Anyway,
yeah.
So that happened. Me and another guy were told. Well, me and two other people were told.
And they said, "Come to the door of the airplane, you two. You may hold hands when you jump out, but know this: that the little umbrella we're giving you, which is a nice little, it's actually not bad. We're sure you will land on your feet, and then you proverbially you had no choice. You didn't jump as much as you looked around and knew that you had to take a step in that direction."
Indeed. And so in the past week, so I took a day to digest that change of life. My wife was confused because when I told her, I was sort of smiling, and she was like, why are you not sad about this? And it's not that I'm not sad. Like, I would have loved for that company to continue to exist, but also it's like, I feel okay about my prospects. Like, I'm going to land on my feet.
Right. And you did the right thing by taking this company, and you've made such a strong impression on them. I mean, There was some communication that in the future, like it could be the soon future, is they want you to help them with what happens to them next, because they know your marketability, and they're thinking, this motherfucker's a lot more marketable than I am.
Yeah. So however, to be clear, the previous company that I worked at, when I left them for the
this job,
for the current place, they said, "Look, man, anytime you want to come back, our doors are open. Come back whenever you want." And so I emailed them amongst other announcements, and I said, "So I'm looking for work," and they were like, "Yeah, the economy sucks. Like we laid off some people, and we're not hiring anyone. So good luck." Which is totally expected. Like that's what I expected them to say. And those promises of, oh yeah, when you have a good time somewhere with strangers, and they're like, oh yeah, anytime, let's get together. That's sort of vacuous, but whatever. So anyway, in the past week, I've had 10 interviews.
10,
I think 7, 8, 9, 10, something like that.
You're just trying to make me feel bad.
It's kind of exhausting. So I've
you're something. You are something.
And there were like 2 of those where it was clear that we were a mismatch, and we both knew it, and it was like, okay, let's not do this.
Bye. How long did those last?
Some of them longer than others, but when you eventually, like, it's a shame. So I have this pet peeve of real estate ads that don't immediately start with how many bedrooms there are in the house. And I think job ads should immediately start with the salary range, because like I can rule you in or out based on that, or you can pique my interest based on that. But if you're offering half of what I've been making and expect to be able to make again, then why are we even talking? So there's that. But however, even so, I still like to a small handful of numbers. I appreciate going through those sort of interviews to see what that market is like. Mm-hmm. And so anyway, it's so for the ones that are nice, I've been saying yes, and by saying yes, that turns one interview into 2 or 3 other interviews where they say, okay, well, let's have you talk to this person on my team, and this person on my team, and this other person in HR or whatever. And so the interviews are sort of multiplying like troubles on Star Trek, but I'll survive. We'll see. Within a month, I will have more information on my destination as an employed individual. But at the moment, it's kind of thrilling to be so up in the air. Like it's like,
well, and you're blessed with the certainty of employment, and so
yes,
it's not a matter of if it's not in your lexicon. I mean, it's
right. I already have really lucrative offers that are not that appealing.
Yeah, right.
That I could totally accept. So
if push came to shove, you're such a marketability that you never really needed a plan B.
Yeah, and this frustrates the hell out of my wife. She's so jealous of this.
Jealous or envious?
Well, is there a difference?
Mm-hmm. Quite a bit of difference.
Explain, Mr. Catholic man.
Envious means, wow, that's really great what you can do. I wish that would happen to me. And jealous would be, why the fuck not me?
Interesting. So jealous is like envy plus anger.
Yes.
Got it. Okay. I'll accept that.
And it could could envy not to be confused with jealousy, and like jealousy that could end up moving into a direction of payback or of response, whereas envious is more of a dream world. It's like, oh well, wow, that's really cool, but envious. I mean, it envious has no ill will. Jealousy does.
Interesting.
And it's jealousy is a problem. I'm not sure that one would think that envy's a problem too, but not to the extent of jealousy. Certainly,
Aren't they both considered a cardinal sin?
No. The venial sin. There's a commandment: "Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's goods, and thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife." That's a commandment. So breaking that would in fact be cardinal sin. Coveting.
Deadly sin.
It's not a deadly sin. What,
7 deadly sins.
Oh no! It's not. It's not. I don't think so.
Yeah, gluttony, lust, avarice, sorrow, wrath, sloth, vainglory. We'll have to click on that, and pride. Vanity. Okay.
Well, pride.
You passed the test. Congratulations.
I feel like thank God
you can
alarm going off. I passed the test. Here, do you need control of my computer?
You can proceed to the next interview step.
Oh God Almighty!
So it's been, and it's also kind of, it's kind of fun to not know. Like when you have a full-time job, you can assume that next month is going to probably be like this month. But to have a break and be like, next year, who the hell knows what next year is going to be like? So that's kind of cool. Cool in a, I have an amazing parachute and I'm going to land somewhere safe.
Well, and
way.
You're in a position for instant negotiation and calm over the upcoming Christmas holidays, because by then you will have it with options narrowed down, each to the great benefit of your family and yourself. Or if not, having made the decision by then, I would imagine. I mean, there's no, when you snooze, you lose. I know that for sure.
Yes. Sometimes I take a nap and then I've lost. The interesting you bring up the holidays. So when my economic uncertainty was presented, the immediate response was, okay, well, we can't possibly repeat what we did last year of going to the Canary Islands for Christmas, because that was expensive, and now we need to be looking closely at expenses. And also, we just spent a fuck ton on our house renovation and stuff. Right. And yet, a couple of days went by, and plans were made, and it seems that we're going again to the Canary Islands, to a different island.
Well, you better
for Christmas.
Right.
So I better get a goddamn job.
Your standards of total compatibility have gone down 2 notches, where you'll say, well, I'm not sure I exactly like everybody who's been involved in this, but I'm willing to give it a shot. When's my first paycheck?
Exactly. So it seems that just before, from the 24th to the 3rd, we're going to be down south in short sleeves and
good for you. Shorts.
So
we're staying here as we usually do, and it's holidays are hard for us, and with family and whatnot, but joyous, and quite the celebration. Is it? And with my youngest expecting.
Congratulations.
Yes, and I will only tell you how poignant it is that she, the nickname of the little girl growing inside of her is Zuzu from It's a Wonderful Life, and Zuzu's Petals. I don't know if you know all of this stuff about that movie, and Jimmy Stewart and his
I keep meaning to watch that movie every Christmas.
daughter,
I mean to watch
his
that
daughter
movie.
Zuzu comes home from school, and she caught a cold because the teacher gave her a flower, and the petals fell off the flower, and she didn't button her coat because she was trying to protect the flower. And Jimmy Stewart and his hysteria about losing all this money at the bank that his addled uncle lost in a fucking twist of fate. He's outraged, and at one point he calls the teachers on the phone with his wife, and he grabs the phone from his wife and he says, so you're the one who sent my kid home with a flower with her coat open. People like you ought to go to jail. And his wife is all panicky and ends up getting punched in the face by that teacher, teacher's husband later in the program. But here's the scene where, when he calms for a second, he goes upstairs to see Zuzu after this terrible phone call, and very quietly sits on her bed and says, "Oh, honey, you don't feel well." And she says, "Daddy, my flower, the petals fell off." And there was the flower and the two petals, and he picked them up, and when she wasn't looking, he took the two petals and he stuck them into his vest pocket, and then handed her back the flower and said, "Now it's all fixed." And she said, "Thank you, Daddy." And the scene ended. Well, here's the thing that happens is that when he jumps off the bridge to kill himself to get his insurance money, he's thinking of jumping off the bridge. Spoilers.
Yeah.
He ends up jumping in to save the guy who's his guardian angel. And then he learns from the angel what it would be like for him never to have been born, because that's the last thing he says on the bridge. "Oh God," he prays, "but I wish that I had never been born." But then he sees the angel in the water and he jumps in, and the angel's Clarence says, blah, blah, blah. "Now here's your life without you." And that's the whole movie, about without you. Well, when he recovers and all the magic happens, he reaches into his vest pocket and finds in there
two petals.
Zuzu's petals, and
Nice.
It makes him giddy and scream out, "Zuzu's petals, Zuzu's petals." So that's the imagery behind little my emergent granddaughter.
What number grandchild is this?
3, and the third girl.
Wow. I think our friend Jacob's kid is named like Azure or something, but they call her Zuzu.
Oh, really?
I don't know if it's related to that at all, but
well, I don't know of any other thing that Zuzu would bring to mind. This was in the 1950s. It's originally black and white film, and we watch it every Christmas.
I'm gonna try and watch it this year for the first time, because I know it's an important thing and in my culture, and there are references that I don't get because of it. So I have a fun little game for us to play for our final moments here. This is a who do you know what Generation Z is? Gen Z?
Yeah.
I guess it's people, it's defined as people born between 1997 and 2012. and it's it's a 6-question quiz about how Gen Z people talk. Do you ever interact with any Gen Z people?
We'll see. We'll find out.
No, but do you have?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So here's the first question. Your Gen Z colleague reacts to something you said with a skull emoji. What is this person likely conveying? Your options are laughter, the end of life, destruction, or Halloween. A skull emoji.
Destruction.
Okay, that is wrong. The answer is laughter because, oh my God, I'm dead. You killed me with that joke. Okay. You ready for the next one?
I got it. Maybe I'll get better. Go ahead.
Do you know what Slack is? Do you use the application called Slack with anyone?
No, probably not.
It's no. I mean, if you don't know, if the answer is I don't know, then
Slack.
No. Slack is a communication tool between teams in companies. So I'll replace that with email. You assign your Gen Z colleague a task on email and send a sentence with a period at the end. What is risky about this message? One is Gen Z hates Slack or email. 2 is Gen Z only reads messages that arrive via email. Or Gen Z might interpret the period as a mere suggestion versus an assignment. Or Gen Z might interpret the period as a sign of anger or coldness. Any idea?
Whoa. The last one.
That is actually correct. If you put a period at the end of your message to a young person, that means that you're like, here. This
is final.
Here, like
this is final.
Fuck this. Take this.
Period.
Yeah. Period. It's like if you put the word period at the end.
Because they read the punctuation mark out loud in their head. I
guess. Yeah. Okay. So good job. You're 1 for 2. Here's number 3. You say you're going to be out of pocket for a week. Your Gen Z colleague is confused. Why? Have you ever heard out of pocket?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I use it all the time.
Okay. They think your clothes are out of pockets. Dumb answers. They assume you're lost, or they think it's a warning that you're going to be wild or crazy, or they think you've run out of money.
The last one.
They think you've run out of money?
Yeah.
It's actually that they think that you're going to be wild and crazy.
I was leaning that way. It was a toss-up.
It's close. It's close. I got that one wrong too. So 4 of 6. You send an email to a Gen Z colleague asking the person to complete a task. You add a smiley face emoji at the end of your paragraph. You don't emoji much, do you?
Yeah, I do some.
Okay. You put a smiley face emoji at the end of your paragraph. Your Gen Z colleague becomes worried. Why? A, your colleague doesn't want more work. That's super offensive. B, the emoji makes your colleague think something is wrong. C, the emoji makes your colleague think you're happy that there's more work. Or D, that your colleague hates emojis.
C.
Your colleague thinks that you're happy that there's more work?
Yes.
Okay. The actual answer is that your colleague thinks that you think something is wrong. Gen Z often finds greater nuance in different smiley face emojis than older counterparts. The range of different smiley faces offers a diversity in the level of enthusiasm a Gen Z person might express in a text-based message. But The plain smiley face, on which some services automatically converts the colon in closed parentheses to a smiley emoji, doesn't emit much enthusiasm and could come across as passive-aggressive. Jesus Christ. Okay. Anyway, 5 of 6. We're almost done. Your Gen Z colleague responds to something that you said with a painting nails emoji. Are you familiar with this emoji where you're painting nails? What is this person expressing? Number 1, it's time for a manicure. 2, your colleague is suggesting sass, pettiness, or nonchalant confidence. 3, your colleague is extremely bored and has nothing to do. Or 4, your colleague's nails chipped.
2.
Your colleague is suggesting sass, pettiness, or nonchalance.
Yes.
That is correct. Well done. The Gen Z is going for a non-literal meaning of the nails emoji. The manicured hand could have several nuances, including some sorts of sass, blah, blah, blah. If you're doing your nails and not caring about what else is happening. All right. Number 6 of 6. Your Gen Z colleague responds to you with the word slay. What does this person likely mean? Have you heard the word slay in young people? It means go kill something, or you got killed or beaten by something, or kudos, awesome job, or defeat the dragon.
Kudos, awesome job.
Well done. You've slayed. You've done well. You slay, Bay.
3 of 6. You're the shit, man. You're the shit, man.
Yeah. Well, that's so. As some Zoomers might say, your result is mid, meaning mediocre. You got enough right to generally understand your Gen Z colleague.
It's to me that you're surprised that I did as well as I did.
No, I might have gotten 4 of 6, but I think I got 3 of 6. So anyway, this quiz will be put in the show notes for any listener to quiz each other, even though we just told the answers.
So I'm actually, I gotta tell you this, is that when I looked at the weather report for tomorrow, and it showed that the sleet and rain and shit that's coming Friday wasn't going to hit till Friday, and that it was going to be it was going to be above freezing, 35, 36 degrees here,
right.
But more importantly, up in Baldwin, I thought for a moment that I was going to get up tomorrow morning and go fishing again to the same spot I was, but it just won't fly. It just won't fly.
It won't fly fish.
Now, did we talk on record of my trip or not?
No, your fishing thing was off record.
So I want to say this to you. Have you seen the pictures? Correct.
I have seen the gorgeous fish photos that you've sent.
The close-up headshot of the steelhead, which is so brilliantly rose-colored, is that not stunning?
I don't find fish incredibly beautiful, but yes.
I didn't say
fish.
Beautiful. I don't want you to.
I'm not turned on.
Kiss it. I don't want you to French kiss my fish head. I didn't. I didn't expect that much. I don't want you to have a relationship with the fish.
It is beautiful. Yes. You're talking about the pink one?
Rose, actually, but yes, pinkish, yes. It seems to me more rose than pink, but very, very brilliant.
There's another one I'm looking at now where some of the dots are red and some aren't, which is kind of a cool look.
That's a close-up of a brown trout's skin.
So these are fish that are temporarily laid upon the ground before being chucked back in the water.
The routine is when the way that some of these fish were too big for my net.
I'm sure the fish are like, hey, selfie time.
Oh, God. Well, here I am fishing in the drift, it's called, as you would imagine, where I'm fishing from upstream to downstream, letting my line drift. And I had went to a lighter line, because when your line is so thick that the fish can see it, they're not going to go after it. But if it's lighter, so I went to a lighter line, went to lighter weight, and as it turns out, in this drift, I was catching fish 2 or 3 out of every 6 or 7 drifts, again and again, including the biggest steelhead I'd ever caught, which was 28 inches. And when I had him, I could see how big he was. He's in front of me. This is a hole that 20 feet from me is the shore of the other side of the creek, of the river. And there's a hole in front of me that I'm just throwing in front of me. I'm calf deep. If I take a step forward, I'm thigh deep. If I take another step forward, I'm tit deep. And then I think if I step forward again, I'd be neck deep. That's how big the hole is. So deep that you can't see in the bottom of it. It's all just dark.
Right.
So this huge fish comes up to the surface, and I say out loud, I'm the only fisherman in the whole river, the only one there. And I say out loud, this is the one. This is the one. Because it's the biggest, and this is the one I've been looking for all this time. And I've been fishing this river for about 3 years, and I had never caught the one. And as
it's just so romantic,
as it wanted to run, and so I knew that it was too big for my net, and so I said, "All right," and I said out loud, "I'm in no hurry." And I let the fish run a little bit. There's a thing called a drag. You know what a drag is on a fishing pole, where when it's open, the line goes out freely. When it's closed, it goes out slowly, right, or not at all.
Yep.
But if I have what's called a conical control, which means unlike a lever, it's a series of ball bearings. And so it's instantly responsive to the turning of the dial. And I've gotten good enough with this thing where I can let that fish run away from me. And when it gets to the point where I don't want it to go any further, I can very slightly tie down on that, very, very slightly, slow the fish down and stop the fish. And that fish then is held in spot, running against the grain of the river, which is rushing down
right
toward him or her. And it's at that resting point that I say, okay, you're resting, and I start to reel in. And I reel in. And when I reel in a little bit closer, it'll take off in the other direction. I did this for about 8 minutes. It went upstream. It went down the left of me. It went to the right of me. At one point, it was in water to the left of me, between me and the shore, that was so shallow that the entire upper half of the fish was out of the water. And the fish swam by me at such a lightning pace in this, in 2 and 3, 4 inches of water, and it circled back into the deep water, and it went all the way around me in a circle. And
trying to wrap the wire around your legs.
Trying to escape. There's not like if-then scenarios in a fish brain. It's simply
it's such a good metaphor for dating.
It is, but for the fishermen, you got to be careful about going around in circles. You've got to be nimble. But anyway, here's the story that I love. Part of the story that I love to tell is that there is my younger brother Timmy, who's the master fisherman of the group. He's always said to me, when you get a fish on and you know that you've got it in the head, meaning it's fair hooked, and you've got a pretty good chance of getting it in, make sure you've got a great chance of getting it in by setting the hook a second time. When you've got a big fish on and you know that you've got it hooked well, pull it again, yank it again, so that whatever hook is there goes into the bone or just goes deeper and you really got them. And in this case, because I had what's called a dropper, which you might be fascinated by this, but it's a second fly. So I have a fly line, and at the end of my line, there's a little fly.
I might be fascinated, yeah.
I take literally 2 feet of
second
line,
fly.
Very light line, and I tie another fly to that line that's smaller than the first one. And I tie that top of that line to the hook of the first fly, and it's called a dropper. And when the line with your little bit of bead, your little weight, and the first fly go into the current, it swings with the current. Below that, that dropper has its own current because it's lighter.
Yeah.
And it's now you've got you're covering twice as much water because you've got this. And because
Double
it's
flied.
2 feet long, it's 2 feet long and lighter, it has a completely different swoop. And so
Different swoop.
when that line stops in the current, set the hook. It's stopping for one of two reasons. It's either hit a fish has got it in its mouth,
Or it's hit a piece of
or
debris.
you've hit something. But because me and the fish know that I've got that drift with the weight right and the length of the line right, and I know where the one impediment is on the bottom of the log that's there that I can get snagged on, when I know that's right, I can cast it correctly and pull it in correctly almost every time. Almost every time.
The fish knows.
And here's the thing, man. This is like do. So I notice
Are you hunting
as
sharks?
I'm fishing and I'm hooking some fish that my line on occasion appears to not just moving with the drift, but just a little bit faster. And
oh my God.
I see that. And so when I see that it's going faster, I set the hook and I catch a fish, because what made it go faster was a fish had it in its mouth and was swimming at almost the exact same speed of the current, but a little faster. I hooked fish 3 times in a row because I noticed that it was going faster. In the lip, in the mouth, including the most beautiful steelhead I've ever caught in my life, which is the subject. He is the subject of this image of this rose-colored head, which I don't. Again,
it's a beautiful fish.
It's a beautiful fish. Relationship with it. It's about color.
Look, I will put that in the show notes at happyhour.fm/.
Well, show them the big fish as well. The fish of the one that I'm talking about with the bright colors. And the picture of that alongside my fishing pole is, to me, the most beautiful shot of the bunch. Even better than the bigger one, which had a duller color to it because it was several years old.
Okay, I'll include more than just one. Although what I want to be the show art for this episode was the email that you sent of, this is what I'm going to retire as or whatever.
Oh.
With it. No, you said me in 2 years, and it's this old guy with a walker in the river with a fishing rod. I think that's.
Well, let me tell you a story about that picture. Is that as I was waiting,
did you take that photo?
No. As I was waiting for the podcast to start, I sent that picture to my brothers, my 3 brothers, my fishing brothers,
right,
and said Salmon River, 2043, period. And it said, which one of us is in this picture? Which one of us is in this picture of the future? And obviously, maybe I didn't write this because it's self-evident, and I didn't want to be macabre, and I almost wrote, "Which one of us is left?"
Right.
But it seemed too awful, and I thought, well, no, don't be awful. Let them ponder.
Let them figure that out. Yeah.
If they want to, but it was a beautiful image, by the way. It's a real picture. I'm sure it's not a.
It is. It'll be the show.
I ended up, the last 100 or 75 to 100 yards to my truck, where I felt like I was dragging my leg for like a fucking Frankenstein movie because my hip was so bad. I caught all these fish. Now imagine that in a 4-hour span. And I started this story to tell you about how you keep the fish fresh and alive and as healthy as they can be.
Well, hold on. I have a question about the double fly thing.
Oh! When I yanked on the big fish.
But hold on. Have you ever caught two fish with the two flies?
Yes, I've caught two rainbow at the Taneycomo River in Branson, Missouri. Okay. And just a quick story about that is that there was a bend in the river where my brother Mike and I fished, and every comfortable number of feet, there was a fisherman, because there were fish everywhere. There was the annual when the trout were in ample supply.
Annual fish
My brother
fest.
and I, imagine this, among all those fishermen, between the two of us, we caught over 125 fish. Jesus. In under 3 hours. And at one point, I had 2 trout on at the same time. Nobody else was catching fish around us. Nobody. I had a fish. I was standing in water that was calf deep.
That's one every 2 minutes.
And there was a fish that was swimming, its head facing me, kind of up above between my 2 legs, and I slowly took the net and put the net in the river behind me. And then I widened my stance. And as I did, I took a little step toward the fish, and it swam right into my net, between my legs and into the net. And I lifted it out, and it was like a fucking 4-pound rainbow trout. Which I say to all the I'm counting my fish out loud. These other fishermen ended up hating us, of course, because I yell out, number 14. And what we were doing was people asking us, what did you catch him on? And we would say, boom, 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 boom,
the lure between my legs.
No, it was all flies. So green fly or nymphthis or scud, which is what we were using. And scud is a little animal, little bug that grows on the bottom of rocks between this proverbial rock and a hard place. And so when the rocks are disturbed at all, and anyone steps on them, the scud and the moss and everything else that's in the bottom of a river, little rot leaf or whatever, but including these live creatures, rise up in the water in a cloud.
Right.
And when the fish see that, they swim into it. And so what we have are flies that look just like that little bug. It's about the size of the Jefferson's head on a dime. It's no bigger than that. It's real tiny. Okay. And we're catching fish all day long. And we got a dropper on, which I've already explained to you what that's like. But I digress. That's a different story. But anyway, with this big trout today, here's a couple quick things. One is that when I give it the Schrantz yank, taught to me by young master fisherman Tim Schrantz, the second hook of the dropper went into his fin. And I had him double hooked. And I said out loud, you're not going anywhere. I've got all day. When I brought that fish in, that fish was so tired that he was laying on his side, just tired, not hurt, just tired, and brought him in, got him partway in the net, put the net in the water, dropped it, because I've got a extension cord thing, like a slinky tied to my net, and grabbed it by the tail. Put him in the net, and this is what I did with every fish. Keep them in the net. They're never out of the water. And take the hook out while they're in the water. Get my camera out, turn my camera on, put my pole where I want to take the picture, have the fish free and clear in the net, swimming, doing just great. Wanted to get out of the net, put it up on the bank, take the picture, put the fish in the water, fish swims away. Fish swims away. And these fish so big would not fit in my net. I had the net. Imagine this. Now, a 7-foot rod in my hand with a reel, and from the end of that, there's fly line on it. It's usually a bright color. You've seen it in pictures and whatnot. And from there's a leader, and it's what I call 10-pound test. It's as long as the line, so it's 7 foot long as the pole, 7 foot long. Then 3 foot from that, a fly on a lighter line, and then 2 feet from that, another fly. So you have 7, and 3 is 10, and 2 is 12 feet of line out. And imagine my little what is my arm? 36, 34 inches. And a 7 foot pole and twice as much line. So I'm reeling past the fly line so that the clear 12-pound test is in. And at that, it's still so far away. I have a net in my right hand. My solution was to put the pole in my left hand, put the pole behind my head, cruxed behind my head.
Yeah.
With my left hand. So with my right hand extended into the water with the net, which stupidly doesn't have an extension handle on it, when I stand up taller and move my head back,
right,
the fish comes closer.
Yeah, but then your arm also goes further away. But
except that it's higher and it's not quite as you would imagine. It's a combination of both, and it does bring the fish closer. But here's the final point, and I'll
That's
stop.
a lot of math.
Fucking ridiculous story.
Yes.
Is that when I've got this big fish on, it's causing such a commotion in the river, in that hole where I'm fishing, that I see 3 or 4 of the biggest fish I've seen ever swim in and out of that hole, darting off up the river, darting back because it was
because they're scared because there's commotion. Yeah.
And the MO on these fish, these steelhead, is that they move from hole to hole. They move to a hole, they stay there, they eat, they see what they can find, then they go to another one. They're constantly moving, right, because they're so hungry. They've got to look, and so they're the ones that are susceptible to what I'm throwing at them. If it doesn't look any different than them to any other piece of material that they want to eat. Right. The thing to understand about trout is that they don't so much as like strike at it like a bass would do. When you're fishing for bass, they're very aggressive. They go after it. They'll jump right out of the water after your fucking shit. Right. These instead, they're breathing it in. It's in front of them. They're swimming toward it. They're breathing it in. They're seeing what it is. They're going with the flow, so to speak. They may be moving downstream with the same exact speed.
They suck on your fly.
They breathe it in and they try to swallow it or they don't. And what you got to do is while they're testing it is you got to set the hook. It's not a strike. It's not, oh man, that fish hit. It's not like, wow, that one really hit. No, it's I got one on. That's what it is. I got one on.
Got one on.
You got one on. You yank and then the double yank.
So isn't that pretty metaphorically similar to what this Indian guy was trying to do to you, where there was like a bunch of commotion in the water and you got all scared and he tried to yank the thing, but then when he was pulling you closer to the net, you got away.
Squirmed. This is what I did, man. It's a perfect analogy. Imagine a fish that weighs 8 pounds. It's a big fish. It's 28 inches long. Okay. The girth is like 18 inches, 16 inches around. It's big.
Dennis is gesturing for those of you that aren't on the video stream.
They were all watching. And it jumps straight out of the water and tail dances.
Yep.
And when they're up like that and they tail dance, what can happen, you hope not, is that movement throws that hook out of whack, which is why before they tail dance, you got to make sure you give it the Schranz yank, the double yank.
So when they were asking you to go to your bank website, you started dancing on the water.
I was, in fact, a tail dancer, and they covered up. They looked at each other in their scuttled, unremarkable hotel room,
right?
And did the sign of a fish. It's getting away.
So, just one super nerdy correction. You said something about the size of Jefferson's face on a dime.
Yeah.
It's actually Roosevelt's face on the dime.
Which Roosevelt?
Franklin. D.
It's not Jefferson.
Jefferson's on the nickel
because of his haircut. Oh, that's right.
Then nickel. That's right. So, well, just next time you tell the story, just try and improve a little bit. Each time you can get better.
I'm sure there's plenty of room for improvement. Well, it's been a remarkable hour and a half. Well, it was an hour and a half, but some dumbass didn't press record, so we lost the first 20 minutes.
Yeah, so
I managed to tell the same story twice.
Right. And, now that I'm unemployed, patreon.com/happy hour would be a great place to help out a fella who needs help. So lovely talking to you again, Dennis. And hopefully we will do again next week. Is probably the last time of the year because I'm heading to the Canary Islands. So
yes, well, make sure you get that job, bro. You want any surprises in that bank account? You just better say yes.
Indeed.
I'll try it. You know what you ought to ask them? I want a signing fee. I want a fucking percentage up front.
And if I can get my friend Dennis on the payroll too, that'd be great.
Do it. Hey, I can sell shit.
You are very convincing, especially
I can sell stuff.
To fish.
I can sell stuff.
The fish are very convinced by you.
They need a resident fisherman, like a resident poet. I mean,
indeed.
And show that they got this other thing. It could be a philanthropy. That's it. A fishing philanthropy, and they fund me to fish.
I think
we support conservation.
Yeah, I think I don't know, 50 grand a fish. I think you're
some yes.
Yeah.
To begin with, that's where we start.
All right. Okay, that does it for episode number 169. You can find the show notes at happyhour.fm/169. There are also photos of the fish that Dennis caught. Beautiful, beautiful fish, especially the pink one. And you can support the show at patreon.com/happyhour. At the Gin Martinis level, you can watch a video. My camera also malfunctioned on this episode, but you'll see. See you next week.